And good evening. We are back. Another trigger warning video. We're going to pick up on what we spoke about last week about This Is Hard, Let's Talk. But this time, we're not going to be talking about communication. We're talking about navigating burnout. So obviously, we've got the usual, the annoying Ashley, and I'm joking. And then we got Nick. How are you both?
I'm good. I'm good. Yes.
I'm good.
How's the braces this week, Ashley?
It's fine. I definitely need to use a little bit of wax on my back brackets because it's starting to chew up my cheek. But it's fine. Other than that, I'm surviving and I'm navigating eating food that's more complicated than one would think. But we're
You
good.
can say the S. You can say the S. You couldn't last week.
Don't get too excited, Adam, because it's still a lisp, okay? It's still there.
No, it's all right. It's all right. Right. Well, obviously our week's been hectic as usual, but anyway, that's for a different matter. So, navigating burnout. So I advise everyone to please share this. Please subscribe if you haven't already, because this is going to be a deep, deep one. So, navigating burnout. Now, obviously, burnout I think we've all experienced burnout before. So, what role does comparison, especially through social media, play in making us feel inadequate or overwhelmed?
Yeah, I can answer my thoughts on this. I mean, I think we inevitably, it's that FOMO, isn't it? Fear of missing out. We nature of social media is we're constantly exposed to other people's posts, and we try and. I think a lot of time we do try and put a better version of ourselves, the best version of ourselves, on social media. I think most people want everyone else to think they're doing great. Generally speaking, overall, and it's so easy to compare ourselves now, and more easy than ever to compare ourselves on social media because we're bombarded with other people's lives. And I think that comparing ourselves, can be our downfall, really, because there's always people who are doing better. There's always people doing worse. And what is better, what is worse anyway. But I think we put pressure on ourselves sometimes to be somewhere we think we need to be, or to living a certain lifestyle, having a certain amount of money, and I think, we reduce it sometimes to simple things like, well, if I earn that much money, my life is better. Or if I'm doing what that person does or going on holidays there, it's sometimes reduced to these simple points almost, because we think that's the answer because that's what that person's doing, that's better.
Yeah.
So I think social media has a lot to play in encouraging sometimes us to subconsciously just compare ourselves. We can't help it really because we're swamped with it. So I think we have to have a look at it with eyes of caution, really, and know that it's not an accurate representation of reality, social media, to an extent. And I think comparing ourselves is something I think we all do. It's human nature to compare ourselves, and I think it's something we need to try and do with caution, because we all have our own journey, and there's so many factors that contribute to where we are, what we're doing, what we're achieving. And I think it's our own journey is unique to us, and comparing ourselves to other people's journey is never a good thing.
Absolutely. Ashley, I'm not going to ask you the same question. I'm going to ask you a different one. Put you under pressure. Is there a difference between can't do it and don't have the capacity right now, and how can people recognize the difference?
Well, I even tell my kids there is no such thing as can't.
Yeah.
It's more so you just don't want to, right? So now, obviously, there are some things that there may be true on physical limitations that you truly cannot do something, right? That's a totally different ball game. But as far as using the word can't, but when you talk about having the capacity, it's one thing to, okay, for example, if I literally am so physically, mentally exhausted and living on that edge and that fine line of burnout, or I know that I'm there, then it becomes I cannot add something else to my plate, right? I don't have the mental capacity to do it. I don't have the stamina. I physically cannot add something else to my plate. When you look at that burnout side, when you maybe aren't necessarily full on burnout or whatever, is it I can't or I don't want to? Like that's how you have to distinguish the two. Is it really a I can't because I physically know I cannot, right? Or is it, oh, I can't do that. No, I just don't want to do that. I don't want to add another meeting onto my schedule because you're creating boundaries. So that's what it boils down to. You really have to look at where are you at physically, emotionally, and mentally.
Absolutely. Yeah, obviously Janet's part, I think isolation has been an influence to burnout, especially since the pandemic.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And welcome, Robert, all the way from Canada. It's good to have you both here. So let's look at, from our own experience, the deeper layers of burnout. So, how does burnout change the way we see ourselves? Does it affect identity, confidence, or sense of worth? I think a mix of everything.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it can be a mix of everything. Because when we reach the point of burnout and mental exhaustion and just the I can't add something else to my plate, if we're being honest, like we lose ourselves in that. And it's simply because again, we've been operating more from the roles that we play. And I legit just did a live on this on Monday. I don't know if you saw it yet, Adam, but I just did a live about this on Monday, roles versus identity.
No, I haven't.
So we often, especially women, but men do it too, we operate from our roles more than we do from our identity. And I broke that down. Like, what does that look like? I broke it down in a different post. Like, what does it mean when you introduce yourself as, like, hey, I'm Ashley, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, right? You're introducing yourself from the role that you play versus, like, I am a woman who appreciates honesty and integrity, and like you introduce yourself differently. And there was a whole breakdown that I did about the differences to make it more clear for people. But like when we're operating from those roles, we tend to lose who we truly are because of that. So then the burnout piles on, and then like you feel shame and you feel guilt because you're like, well, I'm supposed to be the strong one, I'm supposed to be able to take all of this on and do all these things, when in reality, like you're not. And then you beat yourself down because of it, and it just continues to spiral, where then you feel unworthy, you don't feel like you're good enough. Like again, it all intertwines and tangles with each other to a big pile of mess.
See, I remember the experience that a particular situation where obviously me and Kerry was having a conversation, and the kids were just getting all on top of us. Well, not literally, but keeping us busy, etc., etc. And I'm saying to Kerry, I'm like, you know what? Because we weren't spending time together as much as we were supposed to. And this was even after I stopped drinking as well. It was more, we're more parents than we are a couple. That's what I felt. and I was experiencing. And at one point, yeah, Kerry was a little bit in denial about that, but we started making more time for each other. Hey, like even just today, I know Valentine's Day is this Saturday, and bear in mind, I'm saying this live, I hate Valentine's Day. I do not like it whatsoever. But I've gone to the next level to spoil it. Let's just say that. And I thought, you know what? I was just browsing through social media and I'd seen this advert. And I thought, you know what? Let's book a table. Me and you go for some sweets that Saturday night. So we've done that. Got rid of the kids for a few hours.
There you go.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
good. You need to do that. You need to prioritise.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, we're doing that. And then obviously, I know we haven't had a night away, but we will be in May anyway. But anyway, Nick, yours. Oh, this is good. What are some of the hidden signs of burnout that people often mistake for personality flaws, such as irritability, forgetfulness, or lack of motivation? And that is through your experience.
Yeah, I think burnout is often where you can get overwhelmed by things happening, and sometimes it can layer on top of each other, and you think, oh God, not another thing's going, another thing's going wrong, another thing's happening. I can't, more and more things, and it layers on and layers on, and you get overwhelmed, and I think it's. And then you lose the focus. You're trying to fight fires in that sense. You're trying to sort out one thing, and you feel like another thing's come along, and where do you start trying to resolve this? And yeah, you can when you get overwhelmed, you can lose your motivation. Because motivation is to an extent being focused. And being being focused and having that focus to go where you need to go and keep moving forward. But I think of overwhelm, you're sort of stuck almost because you don't know where to start. It's so much happening, and I think it can be also easy to think, it'll obviously affect your confidence, self-belief, because you think, to an extent, well, why me? Why is this happening? And really, obviously, you need to kind of shift it to not, to obviously, what can I do about this? And yeah, I mean, I think often also as well, like almost linked to what you're saying, that sometimes when you say if you had a job and it was loads of stresses of having a job, and then you start missing deadlines, and you had a meeting with the manager, and it felt like everything was having a job, then obviously you might end up taking that stress home to your family or your friends, and that might affect that, and then you think, oh no, now I'm having problems with my wife now, on top of my problems at work, and now my friends, but actually it's because if you don't resolve one thing, then it can happen, leak over into other areas of your life. So I think that yes, inevitably
that's where the isolation comes in, doesn't it?
And increasing. Yeah, that will directly lead to you feeling isolated.
Absolutely. Yeah. I see Ashley's switched off. Obviously, she wonders about that. So obviously Janet put more parents than a couple. Nicely put. I thought I had to do that. My husband was away a lot, so I felt like a single parent. We started making dates to do something with each other, and that's what we have to do. Because it doesn't matter when we have a child or we become married, we are still that individual. And I believe when we get into a relationship or we become a parent, we lose that identity of ourselves. We absolutely lose it. And it's up to us to reconnect with ourselves.
And I think it's interesting how
spiritually.
I think it's interesting how sometimes with couples you can sometimes have one of them working, so it could be the man, could be the woman, the other one looking after kids. So and if that happens, what you can sometimes find is that if say the husband's working, so he could be having a bit of burnout at work and feeling, oh well, I've got all the stress because I'm working hard, and it's on top of me. But then the wife or partner could be saying, well, look, I'm looking after kids in the house. I'm getting burnout here. I'm doing this my own. And no one's more valid or more than the other. They're equally, you can get burnout from work, too much stress at work, or burnout from being, trying to keep the family and the house going. So it's
and
keep
I believe, obviously, I know there's single dads out there that are full time with the kids, and you know what? Hats off to them all. But I know, and I'm believing or not, the stress, and Kerry's going to be like, about fucking time. I believe the stress is more on the mothers than they are on the dads.
yeah, no, I
She's looking at me now.
No, I think extra children are coming with me than what they're supposed to be. No, I would not disagree with that, simply because, like, I have been at home with the kids
Yeah.
since, I have not worked a, like, corporate America job, if you will, since 2009. And our first was born in 2010. So I've been home for a very long time. And it very much is, it's not that the responsibility falls all on the mom if you are married, but in some relationships, it tends to fall more on her.
Yeah.
And it's also like our perspective, because you and your spouse, you are a team. And to operate as a team means you're not babysitting your own children.
Oh, we're losing you then.
They are, it's, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hold this?
And FYI, guys, before Ashley continues, she's not drink driving. Let's just say that. She's probably drinking coffee.
It is coffee. But no, like,
I put that out there.
the responsibility ends up being more on mom because she feels like she has to, even though that's not the case. But it's also one of those things, like, as a couple, to act as a team. And if you're not acting as a team, why are you not acting as a team? Because yes, are there some dads out there that can be lazy and they don't partake in anything family?
Yeah.
So that is a thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that every dad is that way. So
I know some mums are.
well, yes, it can go both ways. It can very much go both ways. But as moms, we are the nurturer. We are all of those things most times. And that means we carry more of the burden because, again, we feel like we have to.
So I can't believe I'm going to say this because I know I'm going to get probably pushed into an agreement here, where the men say that they are head of the house, but the women say, yes, you are the head of the house, but we're the neck that turns the head.
Yes, I've heard that before. That's a good one.
Kerry's not in the ready.
I can't necessarily say that I've heard that before, like, as far as that phrase, if you will. But, like, overarching, it's the husband.
Right, okay.
They are the ones to make, like, a lot of the major family decisions, but they're also, like, the protector of the home. And then it goes the wife. The wife is, like, the home, the kids, like, all of the things that, like, think of it like umbrellas. And it's the husband, then it's the wife, then it becomes the kids.
Yeah.
In that order. But not everybody operates that way. Some people, their umbrella is very much out of order, where it's the wife who is running the home in a masculine energy versus a feminine energy.
Okay. So I'm going to pick on you, Ashley, and then I'm going to pick on Nick. Obviously, because you're more of the self-care mama. So obviously you're on about like listening to your body and all that. So I'm going to pile pressure on you. What does listening to your body actually look like in real life, and why do so many people struggle to do it?
So for me, if I have reached that point of just the emotional exhaustion and I cannot take on one more thing on my plate right now, or I'm going to lose my shit kind of mindset. That means I need to step away. It means I need to completely turn it off. Now, whether that means I'm going for a walk or I'm binge watching a movie or TV on Hulu or Prime or Netflix or whatever, I'm zoning out. I'm trying to quiet my brain. For me, that also looks like, getting into prayer or worship music or something like that for myself. Now, it also means if I wake up one morning and I have a migraine, okay, that means I need to increase my electrolytes. It means I need to increase my water intake. And I'm not going to look at a computer screen for today. So I'm just going to take the day off. Now, not everybody has the ability to do that like I do, but that's paying attention. What is your body trying to tell you? What symptom are you experiencing that's telling you you need a mental health day, you need to get away, you're not nourishing yourself? That's what that looks like. And I think it becomes harder, again, when we feel like we have to carry the load for everybody, when we have to take on every responsibility in the house. We don't delegate well. We don't set boundaries with people, whether that be family members in our house or family members and people outside of our house. If you don't set boundaries and keep saying yes to everything, oh, can we do this? Oh, can you come over for this? Oh, can we come over for this? And when you're really exhausted and you keep saying yes to things, that's what not paying attention to what you truly need and where it becomes difficult. When you lack the boundary setting and the consistency, and ultimately you're not honoring yourself in that. And it becomes very messy.
Absolutely. So, Nick, in what ways, actually, no, we've covered that one. How can we redefine productivity in a way that doesn't sacrifice our mental health?
Yeah, I mean, we should. I think we should set our own definition of productivity, our own definition of things like success. So because what is productive and what is successful is unique to us, to the individual. So on our circumstances. So being if you being productive also fits around your circumstances. So if you're what you achieve in a day, it's got to fit around your commitments, your family life, your personal life, other things you're involved in, and you've got to be realistic about it. So because otherwise if you try to unrealistically be productive to what you feel you should be achieving, what you should be doing, then again you could just get into that overwhelm. And I think it's better to try and always have that realistic thing of, okay, I need to be productive to move my life forward, which is obviously what we always need to be doing, to achieve what I need to achieve. To have a good life for me and my family, I need to be productive, but I don't want to have you overwhelmed. So it's setting sort of realistic expectations, realistic goals. And I think, so I think it's being productive. It's a very, some ways it can mean anything to different people. And I think it ties into what are your goals? Where do you want to be, and what do you want to do to achieve it? And then setting yourself those little targets, those little steps to get there. As long as you're doing something genuinely achievable that takes you a step closer to that goal, then you're being productive.
Yeah. And obviously now we're going to be engaging with each other on a personal level with this one. So if you want to ask me anything to do with this, feel free, because I know I've been piling pressure on you two tonight.
So, Adam, do you feel you put how do you cope with, or do you feel you put pressure on yourself? Still about being productive yourself. Do you feel like you ever put pressure on yourself, and how do you cope with that to be productive, to move forward things?
I do put pressure on myself. I actually do. And I feel like I do more than what I should. Oh yeah, definitely, Robert. Shout out to Ashley's camera person. Yes. but yeah, I do put pressure on myself because I feel like I've got a lot of expectations to meet. And obviously I know having a wife, that's very stressful. So I know she's probably going to kill me after this, but it's all right because I'm just expressing how I feel, and this is what I need to do, is because she's got high expectations. She really does, and keeping her happy, wow, that's a full-time job. It's a full-time job. But and when I do that, or even when I'm meeting the kids' needs, I tend to forget about myself. So I'm like, right, stop being an arsehole, Adam. Pick yourself up and do something. Like get self-care, which I don't get enough of that. Like there's been times when I have to literally force myself to get out of bed, force myself to clean, force myself to go for a shower. And I do that. I have to force myself. Otherwise, I would just go back into that old self. So arsehole again. I know Ashley's going to throw some at me. I know
Ashley, any questions for Adam?
Yeah, no, somebody tried calling, so then it completely shut all of my stuff down because they were leaving a voicemail, and it's spam per usual.
Oh, beautiful spam. Go on, if you got something for me.
I didn't get to hear your response at all, so you'll have to tell me about it later.
No, you can watch the replay.
I know, that's fine. Okay, my question for you is, how have you recognized your own burnout? And let's see. How have you recognized your own burnout, and has it caused you to want to revert back to drinking?
Great question. Nothing and nobody will ever want me to revert back to drinking. That ship has sailed. I can vouch for that. But if you spoke to me about last year or maybe at Christmas about this, then yeah, the thoughts were there. The thoughts about it, drinking was there. I can't lie about that. But I'd say, what was the first bit of the question?
How have you recognized your own burnout?
I've obviously I've recognized when I start getting overwhelmed and when I'm taking on too much. I really need to like step back, and some of that, when old habits creep back into my world, I've identified that, and you know what? Even Kerry's identified that as well. She recognises when my old habits are reappearing because, and this is why she tells me, and even I tell myself, get back into those meetings, because there's been a time when I've gone 2, sometimes even 3 days without a meeting, and my old habits start reappearing. So, and I believe keeping a calm is easier said than done. And these meetings, it's keeping me this stable non-drinker. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. So, time to throw things personally about you. So, how do each of you, and this is to everyone in the comments as well, please do comment. How do each of you experience burnout differently, and what does that say about your individual coping styles? This is to everybody, even in the comments as well.
I think, yeah, for me, I have to recognize that, you know, to prevent burnout, I need to work on myself every day. I have to have awareness of, where I want to be and what I'm doing, and I guess a bit of self-care is related to that. And I think otherwise, what I know that every now and then I'll get overwhelmed by many things I feel I should be doing and trying to do, and then get that feeling of burnout, and then it's like a big loss confidence. So I think for me, having an awareness of myself, that it's to prevent the burnout, I need to be sort of focused on doing everything I need to do to feel like I'm going to move my lifelong positive in the right direction. So I'm productive in a work sense, but also I'm making time to do some exercise and making time to do social, to get that sort of balance. Because I think if I neglect one area, then I know, but it will tip and I get burnt out. And I think it's trying to make sure I'm, moving everything along and ticking all the boxes. They're all equally important. Important to be productive in work, but it's important to have doing things for health and social and family. And I think for me, absolutely, if I neglect one of those areas, and it can tip on it.
Yeah. So I've got a question for you, Ashley, and then I've got a question for people in the comments as well. So I'll go to the comments first. So for everybody, and I'm even going to ask Kerry this as well. So I'm bringing Kerry on this. What's one belief about yourself that burnout exposed or challenged? She's looking at me now thinking, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah. So what's one belief about yourself that burnout exposed or challenged? You don't know. Okay.
I'm curious. I'm curious to see what answers are going to be.
So am I. So while we wait, I'm going to ask you, Ashley, as well, and then we'll come back to the answers, and maybe Kerry will get one as well. So obviously, we've had many conversations about your types of relationships, Ashley. Whether it's with your fella, whether it's with your kids or your lovely in-laws. So has burnout ever changed your relationships or how you show up for others, and how did you rebuild that?
It definitely had an impact in my marriage as far as being burned out, and it wasn't in a positive way. As far as like other people, I wouldn't necessarily say that it had much of an effect on like my social life nearly as much, because in true honesty, like my social life at that time, especially early on in like motherhood, was my self-care. Like it was my saving sanity to get me out of the house. As far as like motherhood, there was definitely more like short-tempered snapping with kids, and frustration. Now, that isn't to say that I still don't have some of those experiences with them, because now they're moving into the teenage years and I've got, 2 teenagers now, and there's a lot of boy energy in my house and destructiveness and screaming and shouting and like let's break everything type of a scenario. But like now I think because I can recognize when I do need to rest and I do need that time away, burnout is very few and far between. And I figured out, okay, I need to get away, or my husband and I need to get away. And I can recognize it in other people now. And again, recognizing it even in myself helps me to honor my boundaries and say no more often. So if nothing, it's probably affected relationships, I would say, more now because I'm not as willing to people please.
Okay. Yeah. We've actually got a couple of answers. So,
Okay.
all right, 3 answers now. So, all right, 4 answers now. Robert has put, the burnout often scared my passengers and almost killed me while driving, as I would often fall asleep at the wheel. All right, okay. All right. Wow, I hope you've got that under control, Robert. Kerry has put, burnout taught me that Adam is the only one who actually loves me and cares about me. All right.
Oh, look at that.
That's cute. That is cute. Bella's put, us mums need time alone also, and time with husbands and partners. Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah. Janet, I think burnout is a broad subject, like Nick refers to overwhelm in relationship to burnout. I guess I could say that when I was diagnosed with PTSD in 2003, could that also relate to burnout? I would say yeah. And the reason I'd say yeah is because I know we've covered about diagnosis before, but and it's about the pressure, isn't it? Because when we're diagnosed, we're left to deal with it on our own, and all these questions start coming to us about what to do, and does it change our identity? Can it affect my life, etc.? So we get a little bit overwhelmed, and it pisses us off to the point we burn out because it brings that self-doubt out, doesn't it?
I think sometimes if we don't know what to do, we don't do anything, and I think that can be the problem with burnout. Is we have this overwhelm. If we don't know what to do to move forward, and so we don't do anything. I think when sometimes obviously doing anything is better than doing nothing. But I've got a question for you, Adam. Do you think burnout is means we need to change our priorities in life? Is it a sign that we need to, or is it a sign that we're doing too much or focusing too much on one thing that's causing?
I believe we're doing too much. But as for priorities, it depends. It depends on what sort of things we're doing with our life. Yeah, because if we're prioritizing, I know we've spoken about this, but if we're prioritizing the kids' needs and our partner's needs and work needs and etc. over our own, then something's going wrong.
Yeah.
Something's going wrong. Because how can we look after everyone and everything if we're not looking after ourselves?
Very,
If that makes sense.
very true.
Oh, Ashley's taking us out in public. I'm very flattered.
Oh, a coffee shop.
You're at the hair salon at the moment.
Oh, that's on.
That's fine.
Right on the wall.
People to subscribe.
Yes, yes.
Really?
Get some new subscribers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Robert, that burnout happened when I was 19. Who knew that working out till midnight, then eating and watching Johnny Kitson, David Letterman, and Conan O'Brien, sleeping at 3:30 a.m., then being at work at 7 would affect me? Well, it would. It would. Then Janet, I think especially for me, it felt like there was something broken in me, damaged and not capable of healing. I think that has changed in the past few years because we're recognizing it.
Mm.
It is. Sarah, put your life jacket on first before you can help others.
It's no different than put your oxygen mask on
Yeah.
before putting somebody else's oxygen mask on the airplane. So even back to when you talk about priorities, even back to that, like you have to make yourself a non-negotiable. Because when you negotiate with yourself, then everybody else becomes a priority before you. So are you on that list of priorities? And if you don't know what your priorities are, start with 5. Because if you're trying to have a priority list of 15 to 20 different things in one day, you're never going to achieve it, and it's going to overwhelm and burn you out. So have 5, and anything beyond the 5, they're just there. They're not a focus, but it's the 5 that you focus on every single day. So for me, my 5 are my relationship with God, myself, my husband, my kids, and then anything else. Business, other relationships, whatever it is. But those are my 5. And that's what it is. And that's what I focus on every single day. I don't focus on anything else. Like if you're not in my top 5, it sounds mean, but I don't have time for you.
At least
because I
we're
have
in the
other
top 5
things.
then, Nick.
Well, at least you hope so.
I think there's also something about, if we're getting overwhelmed and, we think there's only sort of one way. So I'll give an example. When I was made redundant a long time ago and I'd been working a sort of career job and I thought I need to get a job straight away. And I was applying for jobs in the way everyone applies to jobs and I wasn't managed to get one. And I was the overwhelm was continuing and I was just thought, well, all I can do is apply for a job. That's what I need to do. And it wasn't working. And I was getting this burnout, increasing burnout from depression and stress of it. And of course, the lesson I learned was that obviously there's a million ways to approach something. You could, obviously I could have, worked for myself, spoken to friends who are working, see if I could find me work, could have volunteered, could have, there's so many things. I think that basically when we're in a burnout situation and we're not quite sure what the best way of resolving it to move forward, it's not always just finding the one way. Finding the way out, the solution, because there's lots of different ways of moving forward, of solving your current burnout, stress. And I think it's sometimes we need to be a bit creative in almost brainstorming. Well, what let's have, a creative look at, all the things I could try. Because we never know really what will take us forward until we look at it with that open way.
Well, going back to this 5 thing, Sarah's come up with a really good comment, and I actually want to know this myself. I think it's hard for some people to focus on 1, get alone 5. Their struggle is massive at times. What's your feedback to that?
So if you are currently in like the burnout and the overwhelm, then yes, you break that list down even more. So if all you can do is focus on one thing, maybe it's the focus of I got out of bed today. That's the focus on me. If that's all you can do, that's what you do.
Yeah.
If it's okay, I'm a single mom, I have to focus on my kids to make sure that they're fed, to make like then your kids become the priority. And everything is going to change and it's going to fluctuate very regularly. And sometimes our priorities can get out of order. It's very easy to happen and very easy to do, especially when you are living in overwhelm and burnout. So, in reality, 5 is like the max. But if you have to break it down even further, where you can only focus on one, then just focus on one. But you also have to put blinders on
Mm-hmm.
where you are not, again, going back to this comparison thing, you are not comparing your life to somebody's highlight reel. Because that's what sends us typically into overwhelm when we talk about social media, when we talk about life, because of the fact that we are viewing our life through somebody's highlight reel. We're
Yeah.
seeing, like Nick said before, we're seeing their vacations, we're seeing their business success, we're seeing all the things, but yet we're not really taking into consideration what did they do to get there? What was the struggle? What was the burnout? What was the things that they had to sacrifice and do to be able to have that vacation, to be able to have that success? Like, we very much view, like, oh, it must be nice, right? And then that sends us into our own shame and guilt and not enoughness spiral, which then, yes, compiles on even more overwhelm and all of the things and the burnout. So again, it's all about your perception. How are
Yes.
you viewing it? And is it more so coming from a place of envy and jealousy, or is it coming from a true place of curiosity? Like, hey, what did you do to be able to get where you are? What did you do to be able to blah, 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 right? So, even for me, like, yeah, it's easy for me to speak on this other side of burnout. But what you didn't see before that was the hospitalization, the near
Yes.
death experience, the marriage on the rocks nearing divorce. Like the stress that I carried, you didn't see that because one, Adam and I didn't know each other then, but like nobody saw that side of it. So I can speak to it from lived experience and now I'm walking on the other side of it.
No, we've known
So
each other for almost 2 years now.
I know we have. Isn't that crazy? But
I need
like,
a gold medal.
but even then though, I was still on the other side of the burnout.
Yeah.
So again, you have to take stuff in bite-sized pieces to what your mental capacity can hold at that
Yeah.
particular time.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we've got comments. Sarah, definitely important that people are educated more on mental health because in order to cope with mental health issues with others, they themselves need to understand it. I accept that, but I also would add to it, and I would say that to understand it, you need to live it. You need to have lived it. So you need, yeah, because professionals they don't understand rock bottom because in other people's eyes because they probably haven't seen it. All they do is read off a bloody script. But anyway, educational again, isn't it? Jana, agree, Ashley, when constantly on social media, people that make you feel less than a change in state needs to happen to shift who you follow. And that's why every single month, once a month, I have a clear out. I have a clear out. Yeah. Like the other last month, I cleared out most of my contacts. Like I sent a text and whoever didn't respond, I gave it a couple of days and didn't respond, so I've deleted the numbers. That simple.
Yeah.
I think there's something about actually. It's an interesting point we said, Adam, because I think we own a lot of things. We cluttered mind. We have so many things in our life. Where it's things we feel we should be doing, social media, physical things we own in our lives. And I think sometimes, having a sort of a declutter, whether it's declutter on social media or as a declutter physically in your house, perhaps going through create space. I think there's something to be said about that. That can be quite energizing to.
Yeah. So as we head towards the end, we're going back to this again, and to be honest, I'm actually enjoying that. I'm asking the audience, the people, the viewers, questions as well. I think we need to do that moving forward. And this is to everybody. Let's see if you can answer as well, darling. What truth about burnout took you the longest to accept?
Well, I think for me, for me, it was it was a sign of failure. That was what it took me a long time to accept that for a while when I went for it. I thought it was a reflection of failing. That I was experiencing burnout. I thought I'd somehow failed. Basically, and it took me a while to reframe it and sort of. To see that actually, and I think burnout can obviously happen to anyone, whether they're whatever they do in life, and it's got nothing to do with success or money or some of the most successful, wealthy people they have burnout, and it can happen to anyone in any situation, any role, it's got nothing to do with anything. Anyone can suffer burnout, but I think to think that you're failing because you have a burnout, you're failing to cope. You should be coping better. You should be having more resilience. And I think for me, a long time, I think it was failure, but actually, like everything, it's what can you learn from it, and what can you do to change it. And I think just want to add very quickly, one thing I think is really important is, if you know what your sort of big goal is, your vision, where you want to be, what really, and whatever happens, that's where you want to be, then navigating there, taking those little steps each day, just get you a little step closer, step by step. Doesn't matter if it's one tiny step, sometimes it'll be a step back, but as long as you always know, well, that's what I'm passionate about. That's what I want to be. That's why I'm doing it. I think that's what I learned. That's what.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, Janet's put a bad car accident that put me off work for a year. Kerry, I'm same as Nick. I always thought my burnouts were me failing in life. Now I see it as my mind's way of telling me to slow down. Yes. I've been telling it for years. But anyway, right, Ashley, if someone listening feels completely empty right now, what would you say to help them take their very first step?
It's one of the most simple steps, but it's also the most difficult. And it's simply asking for help. It's saying, I need help. I can't do this on my own. I don't know where to begin. So it's seeking the support. So really, in reality, when you think of like your AA meetings that you do and how you seek out that support to make sure that you stay on your path of sobriety, it's no different than that. When you are at your quote unquote breaking point, sometimes I really feel like we have to hit rock bottom before we realize we need to ask for help or we need support and help from people. And sometimes that support won't cost you anything. And sometimes there's a cost to it. There can be a cost in relationships when you don't seek support, but there can also be a monetary cost. And I don't say that as like a coach with me, join my program type of a thing. But at the end of the day, sometimes that's what you have to do to be able to get yourself out of the pit that you find yourself in. It's what I had to do. I had to be willing to invest in myself to get the help that I needed at the time that I needed it and with the people that I wanted to work with, because not everybody is necessarily for you. They're not for your success. They're not for you getting better, right? They're not for that transformation that you're needing or the true support that you are seeking to find, right? So you have to look at it as a I'm investing in myself type of a mindset. And again, sometimes it won't cost you anything. Like for me, Adam, I know you and I have talked about this at length multiple different times, and we've done some coaching sessions with each other.
Yeah.
Like it's simply reaching out and seeing what can be done in even just 1 or 2 sessions that may be complementary before jumping into something more of an extensive, investment.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you don't ask for help, nobody knows that you need it.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't help if you don't ask because we're not mind
Absolutely.
readers.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I agree. I really agree. Go on. You may as well ask me one.
I don't know, Nick, you got anything?
What do you do to prevent burnout, Adam? So what do you do?
I switch off and I do things that I love. Self-care, whether it's going on the console, whether it's reading a book, whether it's watching a film with Kerry and the kids, playing a game, or just that. And to be honest, I've come to terms that, like, obviously the last few mornings, I've got up in the morning, and because I thought, you know what, I'm not going to do a 9 o'clock meeting, I'm going to do a 7:30 in the meeting. While I'm on that meeting, I'm cleaning the kitchen. I'm actually cleaning it. And you know what? It's really therapeutic. So
It's interesting.
all I'm saying is I don't know what the hell Kerry has done to me, but she's done something.
I read somewhere that people are more likely to suffer burnout if they have a fixed way of how things should be. So
Routine, yes.
Yeah, if they have a fixed routine, they have a fixed way of their role in life, how what they should be doing, for their job, where they should be by that point in their life. But people who are more flexible and adaptable, in how in a work life and the friends they have, what they do each day, the more flexible they are, they tend they're less likely to have it. So I think it's quite an interesting thing, that, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, on that note, I think we should wrap up because obviously Ashley's going to be getting her hair done, probably her nails done as well. Who knows?
No, I'm not here for me. I'm here for the kiddo who has a mop on his head right now that needs to be cut. So that's why I'm here. I'm just the chauffeur today.
Of course you are. Yep. So so for everybody, again, please do share this. Please do subscribe. Obviously, I'll be uploading clips all over social media. Probably going to be tomorrow because I like doing that. We are not back next week. We're not on. So we're going to be on the week after. And the topic is you are not failing, you are fighting. So that's going to be a big one. So probably some ranting's going to happen there. At least he hasn't started growing a beard. Well, I have. So on that note, I'll see you later and see you in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.